Have you ever woken up with your heart racing after a dream that felt more real than life itself? Or noticed a sweet scent, like flowers or incense, out of nowhere, with no candle lit, no perfume sprayed, no one nearby? It happens to many people, and often they brush it off as just their imagination. But what if I told you these moments are actually spiritual signs? The Bible teaches us there's more between heaven and earth than our eyes can see. These signs can be visits, urgent messages from souls in purgatory, pleading for help. Ignoring them can be a serious mistake. Christianity isn't a religion of coincidences, but of revelations. Prayer, faith, and discernment are the keys. That's why in this video, we'll uncover a profound teaching from Padre Pio: how to know if a soul is in purgatory. Often, we don't understand these signs or the importance of praying for those souls who still need our help to reach eternal light. To strengthen your faith and practice spiritual charity, write in the comments, "Lord, reach the souls in purgatory with your mercy." A powerful prayer showing your compassion and Christian love. Now, follow along with me as we learn to recognize these signs and what Padre Pio taught about this mission of love. These phenomena aren't limited to mystics or horror movies. They happen to young Christians, parents, even elderly ladies who have never read a whole sermon. I once knew a young man who kept dreaming of his grandfather but ignored it. One day, he woke up crying, hearing his grandfather's voice say, "Pray for me." He went to church, requested a mass, and never had that dream again. Coincidence? Or an answer to prayer? Faith testimonies around the world show that the spiritual world is awake. These mysterious touches might be soft whispers from heaven, asking us to be bridges between worlds. Christian faith calls us to watch with the eyes of the soul. Sometimes the deepest praise begins in the silence of a night when we feel an inexplicable shiver. In those moments, spirituality is not just theory, it becomes flesh, presence, urgency. Ignoring these signs can delay not only the liberation of souls but also our own spiritual growth. And now, if these signs are real, isn't it possible someone special is trying to reach you? Padre Pio knew this well, and he lived experiences that confirm what many still doubt. Padre Pio and his spiritual gift. Padre Pio was no ordinary man. With a deeply devotional heart and unwavering faith, he became one of the greatest intercessors of the 20th century. From a young age, he bore the stigmata of Jesus Christ on his body, and with them, rare spiritual gifts. He didn't just see souls in purgatory. He spoke with them, offered masses for their intentions, and helped them find eternal rest. Many accounts say he heard confessions from people who weren't even physically present. This isn't some fanatic's tale. It's reality documented by the Church itself. His life was a living gospel, where spirituality and action walked hand in hand. One night, a deceased friar appeared to him, asking for prayer. Without hesitation, Padre Pio offered a mass the next day. After the celebration, the spirit returned, now illuminated and smiling, to give thanks. This wasn't a one-time event. 4 years, it repeated with people from many places and situations. It was as if the Church in heaven and the Church on earth met through him. No wonder many called him the bridge between worlds. For those who only believe what they see, this all sounds crazy. But for those who dive deep into Bible study, faith testimonies, and daily prayer, these signs make perfect sense. Padre Pio taught that religion isn't just words but encounters. And these encounters, even with souls on the other side, are real for those living a deep spirituality. He said those who ignore the cries of souls also ignore God's call. In a time when worship is often more about aesthetics than sincerity, Padre Pio's life is a slap to our superficiality. He didn't just talk about salvation, he lived it. And by revealing purgatory as a real place, he prepares us to face the next stage of this journey. The reality of purgatory. Among so many interpretations and doubts, purgatory remains one of the most challenging topics in Christian spirituality. To many, it sounds distant, almost like a metaphor. But the Bible and church tradition confirm it's very real. It's a place, or better said, a state, where souls undergo purification, suffering the consequences of their sins but holding on to the hope of salvation. It's not eternal punishment, but a chance to prepare for the glory of heaven. Understanding this is essential for anyone serious about deepening their faith. Padre Pio always emphasized that ignoring purgatory is ignoring a vital part of the gospel. Here lies the difference between religion and authentic spirituality. The first can get lost in empty rituals, while the second knows the depth of suffering souls still waiting for our help. Bible studies about intercession and the communion of saints point to this reality. Prayers for the dead, offering masses, and fervent praise are practical ways to show our faith and join this chain of mercy. For young Christians attending services and studying the gospel, understanding purgatory is a call to action. Believing isn't enough. You have to pray, give charity, and participate in the sacraments consciously. Imagine how many souls are waiting, asking for just a simple prayer, Our Father or a rosary. Every act of worship, every praise rising to heaven can be a light for those souls. Knowing this changes how we live our daily spirituality, preparing our hearts for what comes next. Ignoring the signs delays the liberation of souls. Often, the rush of daily life makes us miss little signs that are actually true appeals from the spiritual world. These signs, whether dreams, scents, or even chills, are not mere coincidences. Padre Pio taught that ignoring them is one of the main reasons so many souls remain trapped in purgatory, unable to find release. What's most striking is that our lack of attention or disbelief often prolongs the suffering of these souls, who cry out for our help. Christianity challenges us to open the eyes of our hearts to perceive these manifestations. Those who attend church, join Bible studies, and worship know that prayer holds transformative power. But that power fades if we aren't alert to the signs urging us to act. For instance, a young Christian who feels a strange chill or has a disturbing dream might feel uneasy and choose to ignore it. Yet, if he learned to interpret these signals as a call to prayer, he might become the bridge between a suffering soul and divine grace. True spirituality is alive and dynamic. It demands constant vigilance. We can't put off what might make all the difference right now. Moreover, ignoring these signs doesn't just affect the souls in purgatory, it also stunts our own spiritual growth. Faith isn't static, it's an ongoing relationship with Jesus Christ and the Church. When we close our eyes to the spiritual realm, we lose precious chances to deepen that connection. Deep down, we're all called to be agents of liberation, instruments of prayer and worship for a greater good. If these signs are happening, perhaps it's time to open your heart to the next step of this journey. First sign, vivid and unsettling dreams. Who hasn't had a dream so real it felt like a movie playing in first person? In the spiritual realm, these dreams aren't just random stories from the mind. They're true cries for help from purgatory. Padre Pio explained that many souls use dreams to communicate, bringing specific messages or stirring a deep unrest in the heart of the dreamer. Imagine a young Christian dreaming of a deceased relative urging the need for a mass or prayer. Though unsettling, this dream is a precious opportunity to help. The Bible is full of stories where dreams reveal divine truths and guidance. Within the Gospel's context, a dream can be the most direct sermon a soul in purgatory sends, begging for aid. That's why the faithful should not dismiss these experiences but receive them with faith and devotion. If someone wakes repeatedly from troubling dreams, it's good practice to write down the details and seek support through prayers like the Our Father, Hail Mary, and Glory Be. Also, joining worship and Bible study helps interpret these signs more clearly. Spirituality, after all, is an ongoing dialogue between the seen and the unseen. Vivid dreams are a powerful bridge in that communication. Young Christians especially should learn to treasure these moments, not as mere coincidences, but as invitations to prayer and intercession. If recalling a dream brings a chill or sudden sadness when thinking of that loved one, it's no trick of the heart, it's a call to action. And at this point, other signs begin to intertwine, forming a true spiritual mosaic. Second sign, mysterious scents and physical sensations. Have you ever entered a room and caught an unexplained fragrance, sweet like flowers or heavy like burning incense, with no one around? These experiences are far more common than we realize and are ways souls in purgatory reach out to us. Padre Pio himself reported such encounters, understanding that these smells and physical sensations, like sudden chills or a tightness in the chest, are clear signs that a soul seeks our attention and prayers. This isn't superstition, it's spirituality in motion. These scents and sensations don't arise by chance, and they differ from everyday stimuli. For example, a young Christian woman told me she smelled a soft perfume whenever she thought of her late grandfather. On reflection, she realized it was an invitation to pray for him. This shows how spirituality can manifest through our bodies, urging us to act for other souls. So, in the middle of worship or adoration, being attentive to these subtle feelings can be a concrete way to join the Church's mission, aiding those who suffer. Additionally, these physical signs remind us of the importance of devotional prayer and faithfulness to the gospel. They are like signals encouraging us to make a difference, even when daily routines threaten to swallow us whole. Praying the Rosary, joining Bible studies, and keeping faith in Jesus Christ alive are powerful weapons against the silence of souls. And of course, these experiences prepare us for what comes next, as other signs begin to show themselves even more clearly. Third sign, unexplained sounds. Imagine being home in silence and hearing footsteps, knocks, or whispers with no clear source. These mysterious sounds aren't figments of imagination, nor just ordinary house noises. They can be spiritual signals from souls in purgatory trying to get your attention. Padre Pio taught that these sounds are like a call from heaven, a plea for help that, if ignored, can delay these souls' release. So, distinguishing these sounds from the spooky noises we hear in movies is crucial for anyone wanting to live a faith grounded in discernment and prayer. These noises may appear during prayer, worship, or even in everyday moments when least expected. For example, a young Christian attending a Bible study once reported hearing repeated knocks on his bedroom door, coinciding with a strong urge to pray for a deceased family member. This kind of sign invites us to deepen worship and praise, turning the space into one of peace and intercession. Ignoring these sounds might seem easier, but in reality, it's closing your eyes to an urgent call coming from the spiritual world. Spirituality is often about active listening, not just hearing with your ears, but with your heart. When these sound signs happen, it's time to connect more deeply with Jesus Christ and the Church through prayer and the sacraments. Attending worship services, joining Bible studies, and making prayer a daily habit help develop this spiritual sensitivity. And, of course, prepare the believer for the next sign, which comes as emotional impulses and sudden memories. Fourth sign, emotional impulses and sudden memories. Have you ever, out of nowhere, felt a deep sadness or a longing that tightens your heart for no apparent reason? Or suddenly felt the urge to pray for someone who has passed away? These sudden emotions aren't mere coincidences or figments of the imagination. They are impulses sent by souls in purgatory trying to reach our hearts through spirituality and faith. Padre Pio, with his wisdom and mystical sensitivity, said these feelings are a subtle yet powerful form of communication between the living and those who have departed, calling for prayer and intercession. This kind of manifestation can happen any time, during worship, amid praise, or even in the quiet moments of daily life. For example, a young Christian attending Bible studies noticed that whenever he thought of his late grandmother, he felt a tightness in his chest and an urgent desire to pray the Rosary for her. These emotional impulses are clear signs that the soul is present, seeking spiritual help through prayer and devotion. Recognizing these sudden memories and turning them into concrete actions, like prayer and church participation, is a crucial step for spiritual growth. True spirituality often reveals itself through these small movements of the heart. They invite us to step out of autopilot, to make space for praise, worship, and devotional prayer that can truly transform lives, both ours and the soul's crying out. Understanding this sign prepares the believer to see how, at times, heaven orchestrates several manifestations at once, creating a divine mosaic that cannot be ignored. Fifth sign, divine orchestrations. Sometimes, it's not just one isolated sign but a whole spiritual symphony unfolding before the soul's eyes. Padre Pio taught that when dreams, scents, sounds, and memories come together simultaneously, it's a clear sign of an urgent communication from purgatory. Imagine being at home in prayer, suddenly sensing an inexplicable fragrance, hearing gentle knocks, and then a memory of that deceased loved one flooding your heart. These moments are like divine orchestrations, where heaven speaks loud and clear, asking for attention, praise, and fervent prayer. These combined manifestations are more than coincidences. They're powerful invitations to act with faith. A practical example is when a young Christian notices that on the same night he has a troubling dream, smells the scent of flowers, and hears quiet footsteps. This cluster of signs should never be ignored but embraced with prayer and active participation in church worship. Spirituality, at its core, is a living experience, where each manifestation can be a bridge to freeing a suffering soul and strengthening the faith of the one who prays. Recognizing these divine orchestrations requires sensitivity and a strong faith in Jesus Christ and the Gospel. Joining Bible studies, keeping the rosary practice alive, and nurturing a consistent devotional life are ways to be ready for these moments. After all, when heaven manifests like this, it's not a passive invitation but a vibrant call to praise, worship, and intercession. And this preparation leads us directly to a story that proves the power of this connection between the spiritual world and ours. A true story of a soul freed by Padre Pio. Padre Pio didn't speak out of faith alone, but from real, lived, and proven experience. One of the most moving accounts tells of a deceased friar who appeared to him one night, full of anguish and asking for help. This soul in purgatory begged for a mass, a simple gesture, yet of immense spiritual power. Padre Pio, with all his devotion and wisdom, promptly answered the plea, celebrating the Mass with fervor and intense prayer. Days later, the soul returned, now free, radiant, and thankful, showing that faith and prayer hold a transforming power beyond what we imagine. This story stands as a living testimony to the connection between the earthly church and the spiritual kingdom. Padre Pio, with his intimacy with Jesus Christ and deep knowledge of the Bible, showed that prayer isn't empty routine but a powerful weapon of liberation. Young Christians who know this account feel an urgent call to deepen their devotional lives, actively joining worship and Bible studies, and offering masses or prayers for souls still waiting for our help. It's a reminder that spirituality isn't just personal, but a communal and eternal mission. Moreover, this story reveals how much faith and praise must be alive in our daily lives. Spirituality shows itself in small acts, in nurturing prayer, church participation, and charity offerings. When we recognize these signs and respond to Purgatory's requests, we open the way for those souls to become powerful intercessors for us, in a bond of love that transcends time and space. But to reach this, you must know what to do when you notice these signs. What to do when you notice the signs. When you feel these signs, vivid dreams, unexplained scents, chills, the first step is not to ignore or doubt, but to act immediately. Padre Pio always taught that simple prayer, when done with faith, is the most powerful answer. It doesn't need to be complicated. An Our Father, a Hail Mary, and a Glory Be, prayed with a sincere heart, are already enough to begin freeing souls from purgatory. Christianity calls us to act promptly, because in the spiritual world, time is a matter of urgency and mercy. It's also important to keep a routine of devotional prayer, attending worship services and Bible studies to strengthen both faith and discernment. Spirituality can sometimes feel distant, but when we open ourselves to these signs and respond with praise and worship, we become living channels of Jesus Christ's grace. It's good to involve the church too, request specific masses, and even offer small sacrifices or acts of charity for these souls, as Padre Pio taught. For young Christians and all believers, the key is to cultivate this practice daily. Just as the Gospel calls us to love our neighbor, it also calls us to intercede for souls who can no longer act on their own behalf. Paying attention to these signs and responding with prayer creates a powerful spiritual network, where each act of faith echoes in heaven. By doing so, we prepare ourselves for even deeper actions, like offering masses, the most effective tool for freeing souls. Offering masses for souls. The Mass is the high point of Christian life and, for Padre Pio, the most effective and powerful means to release souls from purgatory. When a soul appears in a dream or signals its need, celebrating a Mass in their intention is a gesture of love and faith that changes spiritual realities. Imagine the Eucharistic celebration, with Jesus Christ's sacrifice, acting as a true channel of mercy reaching souls still in need of purification. For young Christians, understanding this means embracing a spiritual responsibility that goes far beyond the routine of worship. Offering a Mass isn't complicated. Many parishes accept Mass intentions for souls in purgatory, and simply requesting one is itself a form of intense prayer. For those involved in Bible studies, it becomes clear that this act aligns with the Gospel, where the communion of saints means caring for one another even after physical death. Regularly celebrating Masses for souls strengthens praise and worship within the Church, creating an atmosphere of faith and mercy. This practice, when woven into devotional life, bears visible fruit in both personal and community spirituality. It's not just a ritual but a loving commitment that can be accompanied by other actions, like offering up sufferings and acts of charity. Padre Pio encouraged this because he knew prayer united with concrete action has a deep impact. This understanding opens the path to the next step, offering one's own sufferings and acts of charity for souls. Offering sufferings and acts of charity. On the journey of faith, Padre Pio taught that our daily hardships and pains can be powerful offerings to help souls in purgatory. It's not just about enduring suffering, but offering it with love and intention as an act of intercession. When we face small sacrifices or challenges, we can unite those moments with prayers and Masses for souls, strengthening the spiritual chain. This practice is a living expression of spirituality and devotion, showing how Christianity transforms adversity into mission. Acts of charity are also concrete tools for freeing souls. The Church has always emphasized that loving others is a direct way to live out the Gospel. It can be simple gestures, helping an elderly person, visiting the sick, giving food, or joining youth groups that serve those in need. These actions, combined with prayer, become powerful expressions of faith, benefiting not only those who receive but also reaching souls in need of spiritual aid. Incorporating these habits into daily life turns faith into an active force, not just a habit. Offering sufferings and charity makes prayer tangible, moving the soul and creating an invisible bond between heaven and earth. It's an invitation to live the Gospel intensely, preparing the heart for the next step, the importance of the Rosary as a powerful weapon of liberation. The importance of the Rosary for souls. The Rosary is much more than just repeating prayers. It is a true spiritual weapon that Padre Pio recommended for freeing souls from purgatory. Praying the Rosary daily, especially when you notice signs from souls, is a gesture of deep faith and devotion. Each mystery meditated during the Rosary draws the faithful closer to Jesus Christ and the Virgin Mary, strengthening prayer and opening doors for divine grace to act. For young Christians wanting to grow spiritually, the Rosary is an essential resource that can transform both the heart and the surrounding environment. Moreover, when the Rosary is offered for souls, the prayer becomes a real channel of liberation, breaking the chains of suffering and speeding the journey to heaven. Participating in worship, keeping Bible studies, and uniting praise and worship with the Rosary creates a powerful spiritual atmosphere where faith and prayer intertwine with mercy. Deep spirituality is a constant practice, and the Rosary, with its meditative repetition, helps keep the heart focused on the Gospel and intercession for souls. So, incorporating the Rosary into daily routine, especially when noticing signs from souls in purgatory, is an effective way to live sincere and transformative devotion. For those seeking true spiritual growth, this practice is indispensable. And by cultivating this habit, the faithful prepare the ground for one of the most beautiful fruits of this mission, freed souls who, in turn, become eternal intercessors on our behalf. Freed souls become eternal intercessors. One of the most beautiful promises Padre Pio left us is that souls freed from purgatory do not vanish into silence but become powerful intercessors in heaven. Imagine a legion of souls who, once trapped by suffering, now shine brightly and fervently protect those who prayed and cared for them. This spiritual alliance is a true bond of love and protection that transcends time and space, showing that prayer, praise, and worship are not isolated acts but a living chain of mercy and faith. This eternal connection between the living and the departed strengthens the Church, creating an invisible network of intercession that reaches all of Christianity. Padre Pio taught that every prayer offered, every Mass celebrated, and every act of charity performed for a soul in purgatory bears fruit that echoes in heaven and on earth. For young Christians, this is a powerful motivation to cultivate a life of constant devotion, attending worship, joining Bible studies, and living an active, engaged spirituality. After all, we are all linked by this chain of faith. Knowing that our prayers free souls, and that those souls, in turn, watch over us as eternal guardians, is an invitation never to give up on prayer, even when immediate results aren't visible. It's also a call to live the gospel with passion and joy, keeping the heart open to what comes from heaven. And so, this spiritual journey doesn't end here, but continues, illuminated by faith, by witness, and by the sure knowledge that we are never alone.